Into a park and named after the area's first permanent non-native settler, Jean-Baptiste Point du Sable, or du Sable in 1779. He was born down in Haiti back in 1745. Enslaved, his father was French. His homestead was where the current day Tribune Tower, Wrigley Building, and Apple Store are today. He had roughly 20 acres at that site, was there for about 20 years, and at that time, that was a lakefront. For the most part, everything in this area east of Michigan Avenue is landfill. Some natural, some man-made. Go to Grant Park, Buckingham Fountain, landfill. Neighbor to our right called Strigerville, landfill. Expensive landfill, but still landfill. About 180 acres of it. Is the youngest, 1937. FDR came to Chicago for the dedication of this bridge. You may want to have your cameras at the ready as we clear the roadway. An explosion of buildings and architecture before and around us. But here to our left coming up, a newer landmark now graces the downtown skyline. Chicago's third tallest building, and right now, tallest building in the world by a woman-owned architectural firm, Studio Gang Architects. Architect's name is Jeannie Gang. She's headquartered here in Chicago. Initially called Vista Tower, now the residence at St. Regis. Bottom 10 floor is gonna have a roughly 200-room hotel. There above, about 400 condos. As you can see, they use like 5 to 6 different shades of green glass transitioning up and down the building. That space near the top, there's no glass. That is called a blow-through floor. It will not add glass to that space. It will stay open, as you see, to allow the air and wind to flow through the building that helps with the structure's stability. No, the residents cannot access that space. Last year, for $35.5 million. To our right coming up, the steel and glass Miesian and modernist black box was in fact designed by one of the fathers of modern and international architecture, Ludwig Mies van der Rohe. This very famous motto was Mies came to Chicago from Germany back in the late 30s, became head of architecture at IIT. He designed the Seagram Building in New York City, TD Center in Toronto, Lafayette Park in Detroit, and the Barcelona chairs. The building to our right is his final project, completed in 1972. He passed away in 1969. The bottom third is now a hotel. Mies also designed 860 and 880 North Lakeshore Drive in Chicago, 1949, and our Federal Center complex down in the Loop. They've been doing some infrastructure work here at State Street, replacing some corroded steel and bits and parts of the bridge itself. And to our right coming up, commonly referred to with the twin corn cob towers. In reality, we're gonna have Marina City. Built between 1960 and 64, designed by architect Bertrand Goldberg, who in fact went to Germany to study Mies van der Rohe at a school called the Bauhaus. So around here we're gonna have teacher and student side by side. The bottom 18 floors of both buildings are parking, a proportion are condominiums, 16 pedals per floor. The former office building in the background is now a hotel, and former theater, now the House of Blues. Small shops and restaurants on site. Right in the corner to our left, 2020. So 6 new buildings around here over the past decade. Again, the most recent addition, the one to our right coming up, the roughly 60-story Salesforce Tower, finished in 2023. Have time while you're here, visit the space here to our right, nicely landscaped, great for photos, and over the public. Again, Chicago has 4 double-decker drawbridges. Of the 4, Lake Street to our left is the oldest, 1916. As we transition from North Branch to South, I will discuss the building that to our left with that very cool base, 150 North Riverside. Like I said before, when it comes to the new stuff, Chicago needed to be mail order and catalog capital of the world with stores like Sears, Marshall Field, Montgomery Ward. You're talking roughly 2.7 million square feet of space, about 62 acres are under one roof, the perfect spot on top of train tracks. Building itself was decommissioned back in '96 and sat empty for more than 2 decades. It was purchased back in 2016, underwent a roughly $800 million rehab, and last I have read, between like 90 and 95% leased up, is now office space. The building is also now LEED certified, green technology. Now we'll pick up in 1 second. Right now though, cars. Usually, see how much noise they're making or not today. Again, we'll wait and see, but it's owned by the same firm. And as we clear Harrison, to our right coming up, the newer main post office from 1996, not worth your nor my time, so don't worry about it. As we clear Harrison, to our left coming up are this vacant and broke down land. At least it used to be, until 1971 was our railroad land. It was a very nice train station to our left on the corner, Grand Central Station, 1890 to 1971. About 12 years ago, 2 different developers did team up and bought most of the land to our left and the bridge above us to the one in front of us. They had like 14 acres, lot for any city. 10 years ago, they submitted a master plan to the city which called for the redevelopment of that land. And all those acres can now build roughly 3,600 residential units. The project initially was called Riverline by Perkins and Will. So far,
that's where I went and ate at, in that building. That's where I ate at, in that building right there. That's the John Hancock building. But the restaurant was closed. That's why I went to take you to.
alleviate some of that sway. On top is a damper. Then to the babysitting, Chucky, First Child's Play. More recently gonna have TV shows like Chicago Fire, PD and Med, Empire on Fox, Divergent was filmed here, Transformers 3. There was a Bollywood movie called Doom 3, and many more. And those in the 70s, Cooley High. Nope, for good time. Before my time, Bob Newhart. My time, Family Matters, Perfect Strangers, Hill Street Blues, Early Edition, more recently never watched it, Shameless, and The Bear. To our right, one building, two phases, 60 years apart. To the right, bay windows, postmodern, 87. 2/3 on the left. All the ornamentation, beautiful columns on top, classically inspired, 1927, base, shaft, capital. 87 respects 27 without repeating 27. And certainly, not to dampen anyone's mood or spirit, the worst disaster to ever happen in Chicago in terms of loss of life happened directly to our right on the river. July 24th, 1915. It's called the Eastland disaster. E-A-S-T-L-A-N-E. Short version, boat tied up here to our right. It was gonna take 2,500 people to Michigan City for their picnic. The vessel always had balance and ballast tank problems. They added extra lifeboats. It was 3 years after Titanic, top heavy, unstable, not designed very well. It rolled over onto its side right here in the river, killing more than 800 people, 25 whole families. Again, July 24th, 1915. Part of the city's history, part of the river's history. As we clear Clark, here to our right coming up, recognize this building here to our right. If you have not, you should. It's a really, really good movie. Came out back in 97, I believe. Sam Jackson and Kevin Spacey. You step down one of the ruthless and somewhat stubby 55 West Wacker from 1968 by architect Otto Stark. Initially home to Blue Cross Blue Shield, I think it's now this office condo.